حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية الإكرام على الرسول النبي الأمي الذي أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا منيرا، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآله
ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المبين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Please recite aloud salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآله.
First and foremost, before we start, can I request the brothers and my young children to come up forward. Come up till over here if you can for tonight. Just right here in front of you. Those ones also. Keep up, Ahmed, keep coming up. Come up here, please. Please recite aloud salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآله محمد.
This should have been done a long time ago, but because of certain responsibilities and certain things that need to be clarified and said, I had to speak a certain topic in a certain way, and that subject is done. When you spoke of the comparison of the Anbiya and the test of the Anbiya, it was for us to understand the maqam and the station of Imam Hussein and the family of Imam Hussein. Every Nabi was tested, every Prophet was tested, their families were tested, and then Allah granted them a station. Wahi stopped when Rasulullah left this world, yes? And now after Rasulullah, the events that come in the life of Imam Ali or the life of the other Imams, you take it back to the Quran. You look at how difficult the test was, and then you guess and you compare and you look at it. And then you are able to identify the status and the maqam of Imam Hussein. That was for an audience, it's done. Tonight is the night of Aliyun al-Akbar. Tomorrow is Shab Ashur. I intend to speak to my brothers and my sisters and my young ones on both sides, having a very heart-to-heart conversation, if I may. The formal stuff is done, is gone, it's behind us. I'd like to speak first and foremost, thank each and every one of you, the faces that I've seen and the faces I've become familiar with. Allah bless you, and Allah bless your parents for attending. For some of you, it might be strange, this medium of conversation or talk, where you were to sit down and listen to a speech from a man on a pulpit or anybody on a pulpit, and you choose or you want to relate to the story that is being told. And how do you connect with this or through this with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? Allah bless each and every one of you, and Allah bless your parents. Karbala does not exist in a vacuum. The event of Karbala, what happened in Karbala, does not happen all of a sudden. When an event as big as Karbala happens, there's a build up to that event. There's reasons why something has to happen. The reason I shared all the stories of the prophets You saw the difficulty Hazrat Yusuf had to be with. You saw the test of Bibi Maryam salamullah alayha. You witnessed what Hajar and Ismail and Ibrahim had to go through. And Allah speaks of all of these lovely people, these ones guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. And Allah speaks of them, so they are an example. And if you look at the story of Imam Hussein, you will see the same example laid out by Imam Hussein in his life as well. When you sat here tonight, when Ashura happened, each and every companion of Imam Hussein, the friends of Imam Hussein, those who came to protect Imam Hussein. Who is Imam Hussein? The son of Rasulullah. Who is Rasulullah? The last of Allah's messengers. Sent to you by Allah to guide how you behave in this world, how you are with fellow human beings, how does one talk to his friend, how does one talk to his neighbor, how does one talk to his brother, and then you grow from there. You grow with the connections you make in this world with the people you live with, and then you grow and you make a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who lives forever. Rasulullah guided people, and Rasulullah had a lot of good things to say. And like prophets of old, Nabi Nuh had enemies, Nabiullah Ibrahim had an enemy, Nabiullah Yunus, Yusuf, all the Anbiya had opposition. Every Nabi every prophet that wanted to do good, there was people who were opposing them and who were against them. Likewise, similarly, Rasulullah had people who would oppose Rasulullah, people who would be against what Rasulullah said. As long as Rasulullah was in Mecca, these people were open and prominent. Of those people were the kuffar. One of them was Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab. Like the Quran says, Tabbat yada Abi Lahabin wa tab. These people were open enemies of Rasulullah. When Rasulullah would be praying in the Kaaba, they would come and they would try and hurt him. They would throw rubbish on him. They would throw disgusting parts of the body from the animal. They take the blood from the animal, the inside of animals, and they would throw it and empty it on Rasulullah while he was praying. But Rasulullah had to fight and he had to persevere. And these people were known. Then Hamza, the uncle, joined the ranks of Rasulullah and he stood by Rasulullah and he supported Rasulullah. And more people started to join the cause with Rasulullah. Who are these people? These people are people like Bilal, Ammar, and his parents. These people came close. They saw that this person was a nice person. He only wanted to help. He only tried. Rasulullah did not want anything for himself. Everything Rasulullah wanted was for the people. Everything he did was for the people. They say he's so selfless. You know, when people are kind to you and they speak to you nicely, most times your elders will tell you, be careful of that person because he wants something. You know how they say nothing in life is for free? Nothing truly in life is for free. But you will notice the people who give for the love of Imam Hussein, they're different. Rasulullah was such. He would be selfless. He would help you with no expectation in return. He would be good to you. He would be kind to you. And his message was what? Rasulullah says, there is only one Allah. These idols you worship are not God. These people you worship, they're not God. This was a very simple message. And how would he say it? He would say, قُولُوا لَا إِلَّهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُونَ. Say La ilaha illallah and be victorious. When you want to be victorious, you want the hereafter, say La ilaha illallah. But La ilaha illallah came at a price. The bad people, the people who were opposing Rasulullah, his enemies, they did not like him. He did not make enemies, they became enemies. Because his message was good, not good for business. When he said La ilaha illallah, people had a problem with that. People said, oh, but we have all these idols. But did that stop him from speaking the truth? Nothing stopped Rasulullah from speaking the truth. So some people admired his honesty. And some people appreciated his kindness, and many people joined him. Usually, the people who joined the Rasul or the Prophet were people who we would classify as the low income households, the poor and the masakin, the destitute people in society, because there was an appeal. Nobody owned them, nobody called them theirs, but Rasulullah with open arms would welcome them and sit with them and eat with them. Would you not like Rasulullah to just sit down and have a meal with you? This is what Rasulullah would do. He would sit down and eat with you, and he'd be nice to you and be kind to you. But many people were troubled by his actions, and many people were distracted. They said, no, when Muhammad speaks, he challenges our norms. He wants to abolish slavery. He believes every man is born free. They did not like this. They did not take lightly to it because people who were in the slave trade business were affected by this. Somebody whose business is to sell and buy its slaves, if Rasulullah says, let's abolish slavery, their business is done. So he makes Rasulullah an enemy automatically. Someone who is in the idol making business, if Rasulullah says we don't worship idols, he becomes an enemy. All he was worried about is his money and how much money he will make, forgetting the human values that Rasulullah was talking about. And he was oppressed and he was challenged. While Rasulullah was in Mecca and he was weak and he didn't have a lot of support, many people were his enemies. But then a group of people in Medina saw the goodness that existed within Rasulullah, and they realized that this man is no ordinary man. This is a man of God who speaks of a hereafter. He says, how long do you plan on living in this world? Will you live in this world forever? Look at your ancestors. Where is your great grandfather? And you point at a grave. Where is your great grandmother, for instance? Oh, my great grandmother is dead. Is there anyone who lives forever? Apparently not. He says, what do you plan on doing after you pass away? What happens when you die? They did not know. They had stories. Rasulullah says, I know. Allah has told me. He's told me what happens after you die. So he was moved to Medina. He migrated. On one night, this is when the Hijri year started. You know when you say the first of Hijrah? So you have the Gregorian calendar and you have the Islamic calendar. And it says Sha'ban, Ramadan, Muharram. These are all history. These are all months of the Islamic calendar. The Islamic calendar started when? When Rasulullah migrated from Medina and he went to, from Mecca and he went to Medina. And he was welcomed in Medina. They welcomed him. The Ansar, they helped him, set him up. You know, if somebody was to travel and to come to your country, he doesn't know the people, he doesn't know the land. While you live here, you've been here for 10 years, 15 years, you've been here for a long time. So you help them. He says, if there's anything you need, we'll provide for you. And they provided for Rasulullah. And now when Rasulullah is in office, so now he's become prominent. Now he can speak freely without fear of somebody attacking the people listening to him. And he can propagate. So now he is growing in popularity. Rasulullah has become more popular. And he's gaining momentum. His tabligh is gaining momentum. His message is going far and wide. Now the oppressors are removed. Nobody is attacking the Prophet Zahiran. So it's easy for him to work and teach and propagate. What happens then? The enemies take on another shape and another form. Now they are not blatant and open enemies. This is when Surah Munafiqun is revealed. There's still people who are with Rasulullah, but their loyalty is not with Rasulullah. They now see him as a head of state. They see him, oh, you know how a friend of yours would then become a prominent person and he becomes popular? He's the most popular. People listen to him. When he says something, people obey his orders. So they're okay. Now we can get close to him. Many people then became very close to Rasulullah, not because he's Rasulullah, but because now he has access to money. He's famous now. People listen to him, he's in a position of power. Let's become close to Rasulullah. This one might be a little too much for the young ones, but when you speak to your elders, they may be able to explain this properly. Somebody asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, please recite salawat. They asked Imam Sadiq, oh Imam Sadiq, why all these people who are representatives of Allah, all these Anbiya, all these prophets, all these people who are calling others to Allah, come to Allah, come to Allah, don't worship the idol, don't worship man, don't be a slave to man, be free, don't harm yourself, don't do things that will harm you, be free. Why are these people usually, they don't have a lot of money, they don't have so much of the dunya to give? Why are they usually poor, for instance? The Imam responds, if they had something to offer other than Allah, people would come to them for that other thing. But Allah has intentionally kept His prophets in problems, so people only come to Him for Allah. So you know the true followers from the false followers. So in Meccan times, the Muhajirin were people who were with Rasulullah when Rasulullah had nothing. But in Medina, things changed. Many people joined Islam and many people joined the Islamic State, or they migrated to the Islamic country now because life was good. But did they love Rasulullah the way he was meant to be loved? No. And these people remained. You know when their true colors came out? Their true colors came out when Rasulullah passed away. One day, Allah tells Rasulullah, Ya Muhammad, your time to leave this world is close. So make an announcement. Rasulullah makes an announcement. He tells people and he reminds people on the day of Ghadir, he says what? He says, he reminds you of Tawheed. This is my message. He reminds people of the message. He says, this is the principles of Nubuwwah and prophethood. This is the job and the task of a prophet. This is what a prophet is supposed to do. And he reminds them of that. And then he says, now that I'm to leave this world, Imam Ali is in charge. If you have anything, anyone who believed me to be Rasulullah and the messenger of Allah, my message to you today is the message of Ghadir. He says, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum in the Quran. He says, Man kuntu mawlahu, fahada aliyun mawla. Yeah. Please write the salawat on Muhammad. Whosoever I am the Mawla of, this Ali is his Mawla as well. Ali, you are the Mawla of these people. And people, this is your Mawla. Listen to Ali. Listen to what Ali has to say. But did everyone listen to Ali? Save only a few people. Salman, top of the list. Abu Dhar and Miqdad. What are the rest of the Muslims? Did they listen to Ali? Did they follow Rasulullah? No. They did not listen to Imam Ali. They went their own path, their own way. See, when you ask when did Karbala start, Karbala did not start on the day, on the 1st of Muharram, and Karbala did not end on the 10th of Muharram. Karbala started when Rasulullah passed away. The Prophet of Allah had made Imam Ali in charge after he's gone. Remember the story of Musa and Harun? When Musa goes, he makes Harun in charge. These people deviated. They did what they wanted to do because of wealth and power and corruption. So now they come after Imam Ali and they force him. They take Imam Ali and they force him to pay allegiance. Imam Ali defies for as long as Zahra is alive. Salamullahi alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Imam Ali defies. But then for the maslaha and the wasiyah, the Rasulullah told him, it's like Ali, make sure do not take any step that will close the doors of wisdom and knowledge. Sometimes that may mean many things for you to understand. Say, okay, okay. So people broke off. And the same people who promised Rasulullah that they will follow Imam Ali are the same people who start fighting Imam Ali. You have the wife of Rasulullah in Jang Jamal, fight Imam Ali, come out. You have Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan in Syria, come out and fight Imam Ali. You're the Khawarij. They did not leave this man in peace. Who? Ali ibn Abi Talib. They did not leave him in peace. There was civil war after civil war, always opposition. There's so many battles Imam Ali had to, so many fires he had to put out. They made life difficult for Imam Ali. When life became difficult for Imam Ali, there came a point where they killed him. Imam Ali is in the masjid. Abdul Rahman ibn Muljim comes up and he strikes him on the head and he kills Imam Ali. Now the Muslim state is in flux. Because on one side you have in Syria Muawiyah la'natullah alayhi claiming the throne. He says, I am Khalifatul Muslimin. And on the other side you have people and the supporters of Imam al-Hassan. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam has a claim to the throne because we have many riwayat present in Sunni books and Hadith books. Rasulullah says, after me will be 12 from my family from Quraysh. Imam Hassan al-Mushtaba is the second of them. But people defy him. Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam is interesting. There's many people who support Imam al-Hassan, who claim fealty to Imam Hassan, who say, oh Imam Hassan, we're your friends. We're with you. Why don't you raise an army and let's go fight Muawiyah? So Muawiyah has a set of troops that are coming to fight Imam Hassan, and Imam Hassan raises people. He says, okay, if you choose to fight, then let's go. Let's go fight Muawiyah, like Imam Ali did. Let's go fight him. What happens then is these people, they go, and Muawiyah communicates and he talks to the commanders of the army of Imam Hassan. He comes to them and he sends his people. He says, what is there with Hassan? What did Ali give you? What does Ali have to offer? Ali has nothing to give you, nor will Hassan give you anything. Switch sides. Come on our team, play with us, come here. And they switch sides and they leave Imam Hassan alone. It comes to a point where a peace treaty, they make peace, zahiran. Imam Hassan has to sign a treaty, a piece of paper, and Muawiyah signs. And there's certain conditions written on the inscription. Imam Hassan says, okay, let Muawiyah to be the custodian of the Muslim empire, but there's conditions. One of those conditions was that he will not choose an inheritor. Once Muawiyah is gone, then Imam al-Hassan, he will become the leader of the Muslims. Once Muawiyah is gone, who becomes the leader of the Muslims? Imam al-Hassan. What does Muawiyah do? He kills Imam Hassan. What was the agreement? The agreement was Muawiyah does not choose after him. Once Muawiyah is dead, the affair will be left with Imam Hassan. What does Muawiyah do? He poisons, through the wife of Imam Hassan, he poisons Imam Hassan and he kills Imam al-Hassan. So now is left Imam Hussein and this one. Before Muawiyah dies, he appoints a successor. He says, oh, after I am gone, Yazid will be the Khalifatul Muslimin. He will be the Caliph. He will be the king of the Muslim empire. He'll be the emperor of the Muslim empire. Who? Yazid bin Muawiyah. It starts with Rasulullah. Yazid bin Muawiyah will be the emperor. This goes against the treaty they had with Imam al-Hassan. What kind of a person is Yazid bin Muawiyah? Yazid is a treacherous man. He openly drinks and he openly indulges in sin. He does not care for halal and haram. He openly violates the rules and the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such a person is never fit to rule the Muslim empire. A man who is drunk constantly, how is he to support and help the poor people? And if an orphan was to approach him and speak to him and ask him for help, a man who's busy playing with his monkeys, how does he help the orphan child? Him, Yazid, and his family, Banu Umayyah, all they did was they looted and they beat up people and they took all their money. And this is how the wealth came to Banu Umayyah. The third, the third Khalifa was the first of the Umayyads to be in power, and then Muawiyah, and then Yazid. These people did not come for Allah. These people came for themselves. And it became very evident, it became very clear. Yazid was there for himself. Why did Rasulullah become the head of state? Rasulullah became the head of state so he could serve people. Why did Muawiyah and Yazid become the head of state? So they could use the people to serve themselves. When Imam Hussein saw this, and this man forced Imam Hussein, Hussein gave bay'ah. What does bay'ah mean? You've heard this word a lot. Hussein give bay'ah, or Hussein pay allegiance. What does allegiance mean? Allegiance means that Imam Hussein says, you Yazid, I accept that you are the head of the Muslim state. I, Hussein ibn Ali, accept that your rule, you are the king now, you're the emperor, your rule is okay. It's legitimate, it's not against the law. He wanted Imam Hussein to sign that knowledge and say, yes, you are the head of the state. Do you think Imam Hussein, being the son of Imam Ali, do you think Imam Hussein, being the son of Rasulullah, would approve of someone like Yazid to sit in such a state where he is choosing how to behave with the Muslims? Will he be able to take care of the orphans? Will Yazid be able to take care of the affairs of the poor people? Does Yazid even consider poor people? Yazid does not consider poor people. He's disgusted by poor people. Poor people disgust Yazid, while the grandfather of Hussein is someone who would sit with the poor people. His father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, is someone who would sit with poor people. His brother Hassan al-Mujtaba is someone who would take care of orphans and sit with poor people. Imam Hussein is the same way. But this man wants to serve himself and not serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam Hussein says, I won't accept this. This is not acceptable to me. If Yazid wants to be the king, let him be the king and I shall leave Arabia. I will go to a place which is beyond the kingdom of Yazid. This is an riwayat. Yazid says, no, I want Hussein. And this is not because he wants legitimacy, it's because there's hatred amongst themselves. Yazid belongs to a family called the Bani Umayyah. Imam Hussein belongs to a family called the Banu Hashim. So this was going on for a long time. The Umayyads and the Hashimis, they've had a problem. And the Umayyads were always using plots and ploys to hurt the Hashimis. Allah chose the Hashimis and Allah gave them prominence. So Yazid said, no matter what happens, I want Hussein to accept my rule. And he was stubborn about it. Could a man like Imam al-Hussein approve of this? If a man is a thug, let me speak in a language you may understand. If a man is a thug, and if a man bullies people, and if a man disrupts peace, and if a man only comes and he hurts and he harms people, like a bully at school, for instance, if somebody comes up and he shakes you and he takes all your money, will you vote him to become president of your neighborhood? Why? Because he'll start doing it to everybody else. Now you just legitimized it. He would do it in school. A bully would come up to you, he'd push you and take your bike and run away. A bully would come up to you, he'd push you, and he'd take your bag and he'd take whatever your belongings are. What happens when a bully comes to you? How do you behave with a bully? Imam Hussein says this is not allowed. This is not the religion of the Prophet. There are no bullies in Islam. There's no people who hurt other people. I won't stand for this. And Yazid wanted to bully Imam Hussein into signing. Says, Hussein, tell everyone you accept that I am the king of the Muslims. I'm the emperor of the Islamic Empire. Imam Hussein says this won't happen. I cannot approve of this. Mithli la yubayu mithla. Someone like me will not approve of a bully like yourself. You're a bully. You're a petty, small man. We've spoken of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Imam Hussein stands heads and shoulders above all of them. I will not approve of this. Who brought Islam? Who was the messenger that introduced Islam? Muhammad Rasulullah. Who was that? Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Who was the defender of Islam? Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Who was the financer of Islam? Who financed Islam and the progress of Islam? Who gave money? You see, when you grow up, you'll realize this more. Everything requires money. For the Husseiniya to conduct programs, there's expenses. For everyone to be able to participate, there's expenses. So everybody gets together and they participate and they give in and chip in and they work. Islam was the same way. There was a system that had to be introduced. If you want to set up a school, how do you do it for free? You just walk into a building and you set up a school? No. It requires funds. Who funded Islam? Bibi Khadija. Who defended Islam? Now you have set up something. Let's say you set up a school. Now you set it up. This is your place. This Husseiniya or the Husseiniya where we go, that is our center, yes? Tomorrow if somebody wants to attack it, you don't want that to happen. You want to set up a defense mechanism. Who defended Islam? So these are the two basic things. Rasul wants to implement God's word. Who funds it? Khadija Salamul alayha. And who makes sure it's safe and it's protected? Imam Ali. What are the Umayyads doing? What is the role of Umayyah in this? What is the role of Abu Sufyan and his father? What is the role of Muawiyah and his father? What is the role of Yazid and his father in Islam? Rasulullah built it, Bibi Khadija financed it, Imam Ali defended it. This is Islam. Do you see any Uthman or Muawiyah or Abu Sufyan here? No. You know, when their name shows up, every time there's trouble, they're there to make trouble. These people are the troublemakers of Islam. The whole family, the Shajarat Khabitha, is the troublemakers. The Amawi family, they make trouble. This is what their job is. When they were kuffar in Makkah, it was this family opposing Rasulullah, fighting against Rasulullah, beating Rasulullah, beating his friends, bullying them. The Amawis. When they came to Medina, they were still waging war. Badr happened, Uhud happened, they were still fighting. Who? The same family. One day, Allah gave them prominence. Allah gave who? Rasulullah the strength in numbers. Rasulullah says, we are going to Makkah. Where is Rasulullah's home? His home is Makkah. Where was he born? He was born in Makkah. Where's the Kaaba? In Makkah. That is where Rasulullah was born. He was forced. Rasulullah was forced. Leave Makkah, go to Medina. And he set up a livelihood in Medina. A day came when Allah commanded him, Ya Rasulullah, you have enough numbers now. Go to Makkah and take over Makkah, and Makkah is yours. So Rasulullah gets ready with his companions and he heads to Makkah. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ. So now the Meccans, who are small in number now and they're weak, and Medina is big and he's flourishing. The big city, the Rasulullah city, is big. He's got friends outside of Medina. He's got friends he can call on now. So a huge number of people show up to where? To Makkah with who? With Rasulullah. And now the Muslims are marching. Slowly and surely, they come towards Makkah. And this Amawi family, this Umayyads, they're cornered now. They have nowhere to go. They're surrounded by who? By Rasulullah and his friends. The Amawis in their houses, Hind, Abu Sufyan, they're all at home now. They're looking at their windows. The Muslims are here. Muhammad is here. Muhammad will kill us. The Muslim will kill us. They will want payback for Hamza who we killed. They will want payback for Ja'far. That's the way. And they said, Al-Yawm Yawmul Malhama. Today is the day when Muhammad will chop us and he'll break us. Rasulullah says, when you enter Makkah, announce, Al-Yawm Yawmul Marhama. Today is the day of mercy. Not Malhama, mercy. I am Rahmatullah Alameen. I'm the peace giver. Someone who has been abused and beaten down and kicked out of his house and exiled. And his wife died because of hunger. Makkah, Shaykh Abi Talib, inshallah, one day you go read about it. His wife died of starvation. The mother of Zahra salam alayha died of starvation, malnutrition because of the Meccans. But he comes back to Makkah and he says, you know what? Anybody who says La ilaha illallah will be forgiven. Do not kill anyone who says La ilaha illallah. As soon as Abu Sufyan hears this, he runs out with his wife, falls at the feet of Muhammad Rasulullah, and he says La ilaha illallah. Did Abu Sufyan become Muslim out of choice? Or was he cornered and then he was forced to say La ilaha illallah to save his life? If he said La ilaha illallah out of choice, he could have done it yesterday and 2 days ago or a week ago. Why did he say it when the sword was dangling on his head? This Yazid is the grandson of that Abu Sufyan. And now he wants revenge from Imam al-Hussein. This is the build-up to Karbala. Now he's seen. Now he is in power. He has alliances. He's spoken to people. He's spoken to Rome. He's spoken to other countries and nations and tribes. And now he's powerful. How did Rasulullah behave when he was powerful? How did Rasulullah behave when he came to Makkah and he was powerful? He forgave everyone. How does Yazid behave when he's powerful? He wants to kill everyone. He wants to prosecute. He wants to chop off heads. And one of his prime targets is Imam al-Hussein. He forces Imam al-Hussein. The same way Rasulullah left Makkah and he was forced to leave Makkah, Imam al-Hussein was forced to leave Medina and he left Medina. And he left with his children and his family. To where? To go to Kufa. Imam al-Hussein, Sayyid al-Shuhada, the son of Rasulullah, with his wife and his children and his sisters and his family and his close friends, now is forced to leave what? To leave his homeland, his house. Because of this stubborn Zani, this stubborn drunkard, this son of Muawiyah, who's forced Imam Hussein out of his house, out of his loved ones, out of his family. Imam Hussein travels, he sets out to go to Kufa. He's not allowed to go to Kufa. He is forced by Hurr bin Yazid al-Riyahi to go to a place called Karbala. In Karbala, Imam Hussein sets up tent. So when you're in the desert, the first thing you do is, when you set up tent, you make sure you set it up close to the waterfront. Imam Hussein sets up the tent close to the waterfront. On the 7th of Muharram, they come and they bully again. With their horses, they're pushing on the tents. With their soldiers, they're pushing people back. They're pushing young kids. He says, move back. Where to? He says, we have been told and we've been commanded to make sure and ensure you do not park your tents beside the waterfront, beside Al-Farat, beside Al-Qami. Go back. We've been told you need to go back. So Imam Hussein up, he says, don't fight. We don't fight right now. People in the army of Imam Hussein, what army? The small group that Imam Hussein had were ready to fight. Imam says, no, wait. And they listen to Imam Hussein. And he moves. The tents, they go back. When the tents, they go back. Now they had free access to water. There's no more water. Why? There's no water for the friends of Imam Hussein. If it was only men, it might have been easier because those men were used to living in the desert and fighting. The women are not accustomed to fighting, not because they can't, because they're just not used to it in that environment. But they fought. They fought with their patience and they fought in supporting those people who were with them in the camps. What about the children? The children need water, but the water was cut off. 3 days there was no water in the camps of who? Imam al-Hussein and Muhammad. On the 10th of Muharram, on the 9th of Muharram, Umar ibn Sa'ad announced, he says, we are attacking today. Imam Hussein sends Burail. He says, go Burail, speak to Umar Sa'ad, see if you can knock some sense into his head. He goes to Umar Sa'ad, he says, Umar, do you really want to attack Hussein? I know it's a difficult decision to make, but they've promised me a big plot of land. And if I was to force Hussein to give allegiance, if Hussein signs this piece of paper, I get a reward and Hussein gets to go. He says, you know, Hussein won't sign this. He says, well, then it's Hussein's choice and Hussein will have to suffer the consequences. I'm only doing as I'm told. Imam Hussein says, if you wish to fight, give me another night. Give me another night. So Imam Hussein gets that night and he prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he worships Allah and he reads the Quran and he recites the Quran. This is what he does at night with his companions. On the day of Ashura is when they start attacking. There's a timeline if you're interested in looking into it. First come the friends and the companions of Imam Hussein. The custom was the Arabs would not launch an all-out attack. So it's not all 72 people attacking 30,000 people or 30,000 people attacking 72. It would be one person after the other. A man, a champion from this side, would go up and he would call on the champion of the other side. So Zuhair would go and he would call someone, for instance. Habib would go and he would call someone out. Huwayn would go and he would call somebody out. Other people of the companions of Imam Hussein, they would go and they would call someone out and the challengers would come. But sometimes the enemy, who was 30,000 in number, would ambush and they would attack and they would surround them. Every time a companion was killed and he would fall to the ground, Imam Hussein and Hazrat Abbas would go, they would lift him up, pick him up, and they'd bring him back to camp. And they would settle their body over there. Because it is respectful to treat someone, even if they've passed away, with respect. These are the ethics and the morals of who? Of Imam al-Hussein and Islam. Even in that inhumane environment, Hussein is the most humane of them. But the blind people don't see. The blind people don't see. And you know what? Imam Hussein tells you why they don't see. Imam Hussein kept coming out on his horse and he kept speaking to those people and he kept garnering their attention and he kept addressing them. But then Imam resolves to a point and he says, you know the reason you can't listen to what I say? You know why I see the son of Rasulullah in front of you and you're not listening to me? It's because your stomachs are full of haram. This is what happens when somebody consumes haram food or haram money. Anytime somebody indulges in anything haram, the first thing that happens is they become deaf. Not they stop hearing, but when they hear truth, they cannot make sense of it. They can't comprehend it. Imam Hussein says, the reason you do not understand what I am saying is because your stomachs are full of haram. When I speak to you, don't perceive. You see Hussein in front of you. You see Ali Asghar in my arms. You see the daughters of Zahra and Rasulullah in the camps. But you're blind to all of this. You're blind and you're deaf. I can come out and I can speak 1,000 times, but you've done this to yourself. Why? Haram food, haram money. You indulge in haram, you become deaf, the spiritual deafness. They were deaf and blind to a point. You know how blind they were? What is the kalma these people are reciting? Are these people who killed Imam Hussein Muslims? Apparently, yes. Do they pray? Apparently, yes. Do they recite the kalima? Apparently, yes. What is the kalima? The kalima is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Oh, who Muhammad? The same Muhammad born in Mecca and the same Muhammad who's buried in Medina? Yes, yes. They believe in the same Muhammad. Do they recognize him when they see him? Yes. Did they not recognize when Ali Akbar left the camp and he sat on the horse and he entered the battlefield? Did he not remind them of Rasulullah? Did Ali Akbar not look like Rasulullah? Was Ali Akbar not ashbahu nas bi Rasulullah khalqan wa khulqan wa siratan? Imam Hussein says, whenever I missed my grandfather Rasulullah, I would look at Ali Akbar. Because no one resembled Rasulullah like Ali Akbar resembled Rasulullah. So these Muslims, the 30,000 of them, all of them praying their namaz, and all of them reading the Quran, and all of them saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and professing the love of Rasulullah, do they not recognize Rasulullah? When they see Ali Akbar, do they not for 1 second stop? You know why? Because they're deaf. Haram money. Ali Akbar, a splitting image of Rasulullah standing in front of them, staring at them in their faces, and they're blind to that reality. Why? Haram. Because of haram food, because of haram money. Somebody eats haram, they become blind and deaf. Nothing can save them on that day because they did this to themselves. You eat haram and you're out of the camp of Imam Hussein. And it's not Imam Hussein's fault, it's your own fault. Eat haram and you become deaf. Consume haram and become deaf and blind. Someone who's ashbahun nas, the one the most similar to Rasulullah, is standing in front of you and you do not see it. Muharram is a maqtal who writes the account of this. He says when Ali Akbar alayhi salatu salam comes to Imam Hussein and he sits at Imam Hussein's feet and he says, Baba, do I have permission to leave? I'm paraphrasing this so it's understood. Imam must have asked him, where to Ali Akbar? He says, to the battlefield. With what heart does a father allow his son to go out and be butchered? Would any of the parents sitting here, any of the mothers sitting here allow their young children that they have raised to go and be butchered by the beasts outside who look like human beings but are worse than animals? The grown men with swords, the hardened soldiers, those people who have no mercy in their heart. To kill for them is a game and a sport. Those people who have no boundaries, no respect, no sharafa, no honor. Will you send your child, who you have raised, in a house like Hussein's, to go out and be butchered? How does then Hussein allow? How does then Zainab Salamullah alayha come and sit with the fact that it is time for Ali Akbar to leave? What does Sakina say to her brother? But it is time. It is time for Ali Akbar, the splitting image of Rasulullah, to sit on his horse and go. Some riwayat mention where Imam Hassan comes up to Ali Akbar and says, my son, when you sat on the horse and you entered the battlefield, I have a request. Yes, Baba, what is the request? He says, when you enter the battlefield, till you get to the point, keep turning around and keep looking at me. Keep glancing over your shoulder and keep looking at me. Were you a father as well, you would understand the pain of a father having to let go his son like that. Ali Akbar enters the battlefield and he fights. And he fights valiantly and he fights like a true soldier would. And he kills many of them and sends them to Jahannam. This is the grandson of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is someone who's practiced fighting with Abbas Abdul Fadl alayhi salatu salam. So he fights and he fights like a warrior should. But how can one man fight when he's thirsty and he's hungry and it is hot and he gets tired? And it's only one of him and 30,000 of them. How does one fight? There comes a time where he turns his horse around. Luhuf, the book talks about this. He turns his horse and he comes to his father. And he gets off his horse and he says, Ya Abati, O my father, Al-Atashu qad qatalani, the thirst has killed me, my father. When you grow older, maybe you would understand what Imam Hussein's response means, but this is what Imam Hussein responds. You know what Imam Hussein says to his young son, Ali Akbar, when Ali Akbar complains, Baba, I'm thirsty. He says, Ali Akbar, it is only a matter of time. My grandfather will quench your thirst very soon. Who says that to their son? Is this how a father is to quench? With what heart did Hussein have to tell his son, my son Ali Akbar, it's only a matter of time, it's only a few minutes now. My grandfather shall quench your thirst when you go to Jannah. With what heart does Hussein send an Ali Akbar to the battlefield? And he hugs him and Hussein hugs him, and they both of them pass out on the plains of Karbala. Ali Akbar is on the floor and he's hugging his father, and Hussein is holding his son, and they both pass out. When Ali Akbar comes to, he gets on his horse, and now this is goodbye. Because now Ali Akbar is not coming back. What you see, if you are an honest and honorable man, which there were none, what you would see is Rasulullah sitting on a horse and coming towards 30,000 people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi himself coming to 30,000 people and fighting. You know how to respond? They throw arrows at him and they throw spears at him. And he fights till a time where his spear embeds into the side of his body and it pierces his body. And Ali Akbar is no longer able to fight. This is when Ali Akbar falls from his horse. Imam Hussein alayhi salatu salam, he rushes to Ali Akbar. Now, you know why it was easier to get to Qasim? Because Abbas was there. It was easier to get to Ali Akbar on and Muhammad because Abbas and Ali Akbar were there. But when it is time to go for Ali Akbar, there's no Abbas to call to. It is Hussein and only Hussein on his own to go. Some people say it got to a point where Imam Hussein was at a point crawling. Imam Hussein was crawling to Ali Akbar. He goes to Ali Akbar and he holds him. And he sees the spear pierced into the body and the side of Imam Ali Akbar alayhi salatu. He looks at Ali Akbar and he says, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will complain to Rasulullah for what this ummah has done to me. Ali Akbar, my dear, it is only a matter of time. And Imam Hussein does what? He tries and help him. There's a spear embedded in the body of Ali Akbar. Imam Hussein holds it and he tries to pull out. But with that spear come out the inside of Ali Akbar, the inside of it comes spinning out. I don't know with what strength does a father have to carry his son, but carry he did. And he carried Ali Akbar to the Khayyam, and he places them with the Shuhada. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أيام قد ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره محتم يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين.